what's up you guys, this is Rob from thequickdraw, and today on the Quick Draw, we're all fired up and ready to blow when we take a look at the Grattler. So with the launch of U-17, my initial reaction to this weapon was extreme disappointment and slight confusion. While stat-wise it was halfway decent, mechanically it was a bit of a hot sticky mess, as it didn't act anything close to what they had described in game. However, with the last few patches they have made some very positive changes, from swapping its damage type all the way to fixing its explosion radius. So without further ado, let's take a look at one of my new favorites. Now you can pick up the Grattler's blueprint for 15,000 credits in the chem lab of your clan dojo. However, if you don't feel like farming up tellurium and burning a fully built forma for it, you can always pick it up in the market pre-built along with the catalyst and a possible Archwing Weapons slots, if those exist, for 250 plat. So its primary damage type has been swapped over from magnetic to puncture, with a small splash of slashing and impact. Now, a large amount of Grineer and Corpus you encounter in Archwing missions do have some form of armor, which makes puncture an awesome option as it's granted a bonus against it. However, if you want to take full advantage, always be sure to equip the appropriate elemental combos in order to deal the optimal amount of damage. Now, the Grattler is a 4-barreled automatic cannon, who fires off projectiles that explode upon impact with an enemy, or once they reach their max range of approximately 350 meters. Now, it is a bit hard to get accurate numbers on it, but the explosion radius does seem to be about 10 to 20 meters. On paper, its fire rate seems to be a bit slow, just know that it does have a short initial spool up time before it considerably increases its projectile output. In addition, while they did buff its clip size up to 60, you're still going to want to burst fire this thing, as you will go through your ammo fairly quickly and be forced to wait for the recharge. Now, one interestingly strange mechanic about the Grattler is the fact that its projectiles have the benefit of innate punch through. However, as I said, its shells explode upon contact with an enemy, so while this will penetrate walls, it won't penetrate enemies. As for its stats, the Grattler is one of the few weapons that could be considered a crit weapon when it comes to the Archwing category, with an innate crit chance of 25% and a 2x crit multiplier. However, keep in mind that Archwing supplemental mods aren't all that comparable to standard primary weapon mods. With a maxed out parallax scope and hollowed bullets, its max crit chance only caps at 45% with a 3.2x multiplier. Now, while that doesn't look great on paper, it definitely gets the job done. Now, speaking of getting things done, can we talk? Okay, so in preparation for the video, I wanted to run some rough calculations on exactly how efficient certain mods were going to be, simply because the numbers just don't look as good on Archwing mods as they do on standard primaries. But after some number crunching, I realized that it wasn't really as bad as I thought. It's pretty much like masturbation. It gets a bad rap for not being as good as the real thing, but honestly, when it's done right, it can still be surprisingly satisfying. Think of it this way. When you're fiddling with your own knobs, you're not worried about whether you're hitting a sweet spot. The only sweet spot you're worried about is the time it takes you to unload. And speaking of loads, you can shoot off as much as you want, as long as you give yourself a little time to recharge. You don't have to depend on how long it takes for them to gather up more bullets, or toss some cash down for an ammo pizza break before you can fire off again. And sure, while the base damage and multi-shot isn't as satisfying, the rest of the elements you add in are pretty fucking big. So you can mix in a little porn element, maybe a little sex toy element, or the ever-elusive strange technique element. You can even combo those elements to deal the optimal amount of satisfaction. Now, let's all stop touching ourselves and get back to the Quick Draw. So all in all, the Grattler is a big surprise for me. After a really shitty first impression, I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I do. However, after 3 intentional forma and 1 forma that I accidentally fucked myself out of, I have to say that this is definitely a contender for my favorite Archwing primary. It deals a lot of damage very quickly, and aside from having to be within a certain range and leading your targets to projectile flight speed, it's pretty damn easy to use. It comes with an innate V polarity, which is great because with many crit-based weapons, it will take some forma to optimize. And while it's a bit of an investment for a fairly limited game mode, this is hands down the best way to blow your load in space. So thank you all for watching another episode of The Quick Draw. If you haven't already caught it, be sure to check out the previous episode on the Call Star, as well as my most recent stand spotlight on Final Harbinger. Now, don't forget to do all the things that I ask you to do at the end of every one of these, and as always, stay tuned for more mile-high explosions here at A Gay Guy Plays. And for those who are curious, if you happen to get close enough to terrain, you can blow yourself up. Good luck with Sharkwing.